You're listening to the Catholic Accent Podcast. We discuss the acts that Jesus performed that stunned his disciples.
Great to be back, Jordan.
You don't know us by now, you're never getting to know us.
I'm Jordan Waco here with Father Hamilton and Father Pujol.
Do you have anything to add?
Well, I think today, especially in society and in our U.S. culture, when you hear the word Christian, I think many people kind of bristle back because, if you have a name, right, or a title, people can misuse that. And so we've seen that done, whether it's politically, socially, economically. And so there's a lot of ramifications for people who say that they are Christian or they do some other like strange activities, right? So I was just watching this YouTube video of these Christians down in the South, and they were playing with snakes and saying like, oh, we are the perfect Christians because the snakes won't bite us. And so scripture's fulfilled in our midst. And it's like, no, yes, you might be Christian. Yes, you might believe in the Lord. And yes, you believe Jesus is God. But there's a lot more to it than a show.
I also feel like they do that because it's entertaining. They want people to watch.
I know.
Because when I see that stuff, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see this person get bit.
But
I'll just be honest.
But it pushes it pushes some people away from, wanting to be a part of this community because it's bizarre.
And one of those connotations that can come with certain groups of Christianity or people, the way that they purport their Christianity, is for Christianity to really be opposed to science, opposed to other
reason,
modern things. So Christianity just becomes like a negative, an anti to all these other things. Whereas rather you have to see it like in the positive sense. We're called as Christians, especially as Catholics, that our faith is never infra-rational, that we don't use our reason. God has given us reason as a great gift, and so we use that, and we get to a certain point where reason can't continue on from there, and then there needs to be faith, which is the hope in things yet to be seen. Not that it contradicts logic, reason, but we can't see what is yet to be that has to be revealed to us by God.
And a great image of that is just this week, Pope Leo was at the Vatican Observatory. And, seeing the Holy Father there looking up into the heavens through one of these magnificent telescopes that the church has cared for centuries, exploring the solar system, finding so many different scientific the scientific method is a Catholic method.
And science means to have knowledge. And so the church has always been about that knowledge and then leading to wisdom, right? Because knowledge is primary, and then wisdom is something that is really a gift.
Well, it's just like, we talked about the magician, and magic was really just science that hasn't been hypothesized yet or written out.
It could be in certain areas like alchemy or these other things, but sometimes they had like pagan draws towards other.
Oh right, yeah, where they try. Yeah.
Stay away from the demonic, Jordan. How many times do we have to tell you?
Another good image of this, and I always love Dante Alighieri, so I'll bring it back. You guys will yell at me for mentioning the Divine Comedy, but nonetheless,
make sure you read all three.
His guide, yes, all three. His guide through the Inferno and then Purgatorio is Virgil, the famous writer of the Aeneid, a great Roman poet. He represents reason, rationality. When he comes to the threshold of going to then into paradise, heaven, he no longer has Virgil anymore. Reason, it gives way to Beatrice, or as we think of beatitude, this joy, and Beatrice leads him then through the rest along with some of the saints. And what that shows is that it gives way from reason to faith, eventually, to the higher realms. And so both and together, as the church has always held.
So when we look at our Christian brothers and sisters, our hope is that they do come to the full union with the church. But you can also see in their practices those things that are lacking, right? Because most of those Christian communities have separated from the Catholic Church. And I think it was this year, actually, in England, for the first time since the Reformation, Catholics are now outnumbering Anglicans, members of the Church of England. And so we see a great resurgence, I think, with our young people.
Yeah, but so, with that, it's not just what we have and other Christian denominations maybe don't have in the sacraments or the understanding of the apostolicity of the church, but we can really be challenged by other Christian denominations.
Oh, for sure.
I've been
Especially
very
with
edified
Scripture.
and moved to work with other Christian pastors. Like whenever I was a prison chaplain, I was there with others. I was there with a Jewish rabbi that I worked with and people from different faith backgrounds. So there is a give and take there and a learning where like we can still be challenged. Sometimes Protestant pastors can be excellent preachers. They're very, very dynamic in the way that they
scholars.
preach, in their scholarship. But in a really great way, it can challenge us to be like, well, I can't just give a dull, boring sermon.
Do you think that's
or,
because they're like Protestant is protesting? Like,
It's an interesting word to bring up, right? Because other Christians, other than say Orthodox Catholic is the split that happened in 1054, but kind of the East and the West in tradition started to grow apart, and then there was tension there.
Both with valid orders, valid sacraments.
Latin and Greek, yeah. What you start to see is with other Christian groups, well, their identity is based upon Catholicism, right? Or the church.
Yeah.
What are they protesting? So it's kind of like you have to saw off the branch that you're sitting on to then make a protest against the tree that you came from. That's why I struggled with coming back to the faith and understanding why I would be Protestant rather than being Catholic. And I always say too, we hold people to a high standard. You have to go to Mass every week. You have to do certain things. You have to keep the commandments of the Lord in a certain way that the church obliges you to. I think that's a good thing because organizations or just things that we experience in general, the order of the world, if you have a high bar standard, that usually means that you're really holding people to something more and expecting something of them. And that tends to be true.
And we're not simply a social club or like an Elks, we're not paying our dues and, coming in to the hall, but rather we are living our lives and giving our lives for someone greater than ourselves. And we see this in the early church with these early martyrs and early Christians who give their all for the name of Christian.
Thanks for listening to the Catholic Accent Podcast. Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe to our show.